And we're live. Good evening, Shifties. Welcome back. Welcome back to Shift the Journey. My name is Tito Amogus. I'm your host. Today we have a special guest. I know every week I say we have a special guest. Sometimes I say super special guest because it's somebody maybe I grew up with or something, like when Melissa Bremer was on. But we have a special guest today. His name is Jeremy Grice. Jeremy is a veteran of the United States Air Force, 24 years, correct?
That's correct.
Boy, that's a long time. Jeremy and I were stationed together at Robins Air Force Base back in the day when we worked on this airplane called the Joint Surveillance Target Attack Radar System.
EAC,
I'm about to show you. That's right. I'm about to show you a picture. What is going on here? I feel like half my life is like, hey, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? And the other half is, can you see my screen? All right, so this picture is like super. Yeah. It's like super zoomed out. It was really far away, and the digital cameras back then weren't what you say like were great. They were much worse than what we have on our phones now. This was an actual camera. This is so grainy. I was trying to figure out where you were. Is that you right there?
No,
No, that's you over there.
Yep, that's me.
Back there? Yeah, I was trying to find myself. And so I was like, okay, medium shade. I was like, is that me? I don't think I'm that tall. And now I can't even remember. I think that's me right there. I was looking for no hair, medium shade. And obviously, you're not going to be able to find.
Hey, with the, this is how old we are. In that picture, there's a young man, Michael. I'm blowing his last name, but he just made Master Sergeant. He just put Master Sergeant on, and he was a senior airman in that picture.
Oh my gosh! Wait, Michael, where did he work?
He was a jet troop, and it just yeah.
I don't know. You see what I called this one? Can you read that?
I can't.
It says sploosh. That was I don't know if you remember that. I'm not going to talk about it right now, though. We're going to talk about it later because that was the time, man. I want to say that was summer of 2007. I want to say
2007.
Yeah, 2007. I was like, yeah, that was 7 years ago. Oh, that wasn't 7 years ago because 7 years ago was 2017. My gosh.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it was funny because, like, when we were in the studio, we were talking about weather. That place, man. Oh my gosh. One of the hottest places I've ever been in my life. And then, like, sometimes it was super dry. Sometimes it was super wet. It was just like super disgusting all the time.
I just saw a video of the new, bathrooms there, and they, the new living facilities there, and it's all in the area. They don't have the Cadillacs anymore.
What?
And yeah,
soft. I'm telling you. Yeah, oh my gosh,
they've gotten soft.
Man, they called us soft. Shoot. Did you ever have to when you were there, did you ever have to stay in a room with 3 other dudes?
Oh, well, yeah, when we did our turnover, and there was that like 1 week when you had both crews, from the inbound crew and the outbound crew, in the same rooms together.
12 by 12 room, 4 dudes, 2 bunk beds.
Nothing worse than Bob Garza, Master Bob Garza. He was in his little tight shorts and nothing else when I walked in the room. Yeah.
I remember that dude. That's hilarious. Yeah, no, I was trying to remember who was in the room with me that day. I think it was Bobby Greer and Jamal Baker. I don't remember who the other person was, but I'm like, man, did you guys take a shower? I know you guys just got off the plane, but did you take a shower yet? Because, man, it's 4 dudes in a room. It's terrible.
Yeah, the best thing for me was like that was more incentive to make Master, because it was like Masters got their own room. They didn't have to do all that.
Oh,
but yeah, that particular one we had to share. So
yeah, that's crazy, man. Yeah, I don't want to hear anybody from like this era talking about how soft we were back in the day because we were not. I'm telling
we
you,
weren't.
we were
Tough
not.
times for us.
But anyway, yeah. So anybody who just joined, and we're talking about, we're like catching up on the good old days, just
Yeah,
the
and
old days.
that was Master Sergeant Michael Scott. He's Master Sergeant.
Oh, I remember him. That's right.
Yeah.
Because people would say something about The Office, because that's the same. That's Steve Carell's character, Michael Scott. But he was not at all like Steve Carell. I remember that.
No, he wasn't.
But anyway, so Shift the Journey is my passion project. Basically, I just get to come on here and interview somebody different every week, and they can talk about their career journey. And so let's dig in. So first off, tell the people where you're from.
Well, I'm an Army brat, but my father was spent the majority of his career at Fort Benning, Georgia. And so I grew up in the Columbus, Georgia area. So I've really spent majority of my early years between Germany and Fort Benning, going back and forth.
Okay, so I'm confused. Hang on. I'm confused because I know for a fact that you rep Miami Dolphins at University of Miami all the time, always giving us crap about the Dogs,
of course,
or the Falcons who deserve it. Like whole new team, whole new coaching staff, same result.
All right.
Heartbreak. But anyway, how'd you what's up with that?
So growing up in Columbus, at that time frame, I was there, in the early 80s. Atlanta was blacked out. They couldn't sell enough tickets, so they blacked out for the local area. So Columbus didn't get the game. So the Saints were blocked out, the Falcons, and so the only team that showed every Sunday, besides the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers, was the Miami Dolphins in that area. So I went with the Dolphins. So.
Wow, that's crazy, man. That's nuts. Never would have thought about that. Never would have connected the dots on that.
Yeah.
So you said your dad was at Fort Benning. Then when you were growing up, did you think, hey, I'm going to join the military?
Absolutely not. I was not headed. No. I remember my dad getting up in the morning and then 5 o'clock in the morning going on runs. And I was like, nah, that's not the life I wanted. I didn't want no part of that. The uniform, I didn't want no part of that. And my goal before, I made a change in decision, I was definitely not headed to the military. No, not at all.
Yeah. What made you decide to change?
Well, I went to college in Columbus Tech. I went to college locally, and I was going for accounting. And I remember, doing really well in class, and I was like, okay, I'm almost done with my degree, and I wanted to check out and see, okay, what is a accountant / bookkeeping make per year? And it was something like $18,000 a year starting off. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm doing this for 18. I was like, you know what? I was good at it, but I was like, you know what? I wanted a little bit more adventure in my life. I wanted to travel. I wanted to see some things. I didn't want to just go and get a job and start working in that aspect and not see a little bit of the world. So I said, you know what? The military sounds like a good plan. Dad, what do you think about me going to the military? He said, I think that's a great idea, son, but don't go in the Army. That's what he said. So I was originally going in the Navy. I wanted to work on submarines, but God had worked it out for me for not to work. And so I ended up enlisting in the Air Force.
Man.
Yeah. And I didn't even go in with, I was originally going in to be a radiologist because of my ASVAB scores were very good. But when I got to basic and like my halfway through basic, they told me my slot was gone and I had to pick another job.
Oh,
yeah. And so the only job higher on my list than jet engine mechanic, lower on my list than jet engine mechanic was security forces. So they made me pick 8. And that's how I ended up getting in, becoming a jet engine mechanic. And my dad was like, "What? I remember I'm trying to get you to learn to work on cars, and you would just run off and you never really engaged in that with me." And so here I am, being in jet engine mechanic for 20 plus years. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, good thing you joined the Air Force, because I don't know who I would have been like finishing a video game with on the you remember that at the end of that deployment,
Yeah.
I walked into that place where there's like video games and stuff, and you were playing that game on the PlayStation 3. I think it was new 2 or 3, and then we finished. It was some kind of zombie game. You remember that?
I do not.
Seriously? Oh my gosh, we played all night, and we finished the game, and then you went to bed. You're like, I'm going to bed. It's like 3:00 in the morning, but I don't know. You know how like at the end of the deployment, you're just like wandering around and stuff. Okay. Anyway, it was. I was trying to see. I have that memory, but I couldn't remember the name of the game, and I was like, I wonder if he remembers. And you don't even remember it happening. Okay, well, never mind then. It never happened. I don't know what it was. I could probably Google it and find out. But so, did you end up? What was he gonna say? Did you go like delayed enlistment, or did you like, oh, it's time to go?
No, it was time to go. I pretty much signed up, and I would think I signed up and I was gone within 2 months.
Yeah.
So
So when you got out, or you were like getting out of tech school, did you like have any high hopes of like, oh, I want to be stationed in Germany? I want to be stationed in wherever.
Well, fortunately for me, my uncle was a chief master sergeant stationed at Randolph, and so he had some pull. So
okay,
yeah. So
all right.
He asked me where, he asked me where I wanted to go, and of course, he said, I can't guarantee you anything, but I wanted to be, because I was brand new, I was by myself, and so I found out that I could go to end up going to MacDill Air Force Base in Florida. That's where I went, because my family in St. Petersburg and in Tampa, so I thought that would be a good fit for me.
So what was that like? People say that's the best kept secret in the Air Force.
It was awesome. It was awesome. They the surrounding area, things to do, exciting for a young person. I had my own room. It was awesome. Oh
my gosh,
I could have stayed there forever. But
my first base out of tech school was Fairchild Air Force Base, Spokane, Washington. Okay. And so coming from Southern California, that was a culture shock. Right. It is not quite as diverse up there as I would like it to have been. And being a young man, I was really angry about it. And so then I went and I was stationed in the South for 17 years, but whatever, that's a different story. So and 10 of those years, 10 and a half of those years in Warner Robins. So what year along the way did you get to Robins Air Force Base?
Actually, that was 2004. Unfortunately, the reason why I was there going on a humanitarian assignment. My wife, Karenessa, she was a tech sergeant. I was staff, and she was diagnosed with colon cancer, and and so we went there to help with her care, and my family was there. That's why I came, because my family was close by, helping me support taking care of her, and we had a 2-year-old son, and so that was the main reason I ended up at Robins Air Force Base. Yeah.
Man, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So she lasted about another 9 months and passed away. So,
oh man.
Yeah.
So how long were you at Robins?
I was altogether. I was there from till 2004 to 2014 when I retired. So 10 years.
Oh, you were one of the people that I left behind. So I left in 2009.
Yeah.
And I remember it was funny is that people were like, oh, do people go in and out of there? No, people get stationed in J-Stars and they don't leave.
Correct.
I was trying to remember that one dude. There was one guy in E&E. He had like gold tooth, and he had been there for like 16 years. He was a tech sergeant. He's been there for like 16 years. And then there was another guy who was I was in QA with, who is from Valdosta. His brother was stationed at Moody, and he was stationed at Robins. And at like year 17, he got orders overseas, and he didn't want to go. I can't remember if it was Germany or Japan. And I'm like, I'll take him, but couldn't do it. That's nuts, man. So
there was a couple people I knew from the shop who they spent their entire career there.
Oh yeah.
and air maintenance. Yeah,
Yeah. That's crazy, man.
that is. I was
Yeah.
fortunate enough to move like I did 7 bases, so I did get to move around a
7?
little bit. Yeah, yeah.
7 bases. What were the bases?
Okay, so I was at McDill, left McDill, went to Dover, went from
Oh,
Dover to Kadena,
okay.
went from Kadena to where'd it go? Oh, Langley, went from Langley Air Force Base to Milden Hall. Well, no, what is it? Lake and Heath. Went to Lake and Heath. Was there for a minute, and then I was at San Antonio for a minute, Randolph,
Mhm.
and then went to Warner Robins was last place.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
When I joined, I thought, yeah, I think I'm gonna be stationed in a bunch of different places. Nah, man. Nah.
Yeah.
It was Fairchild for like 2, maybe 2.5 years.
Okay.
And then I retrained at Keesler like 7 months, then went
Mhm.
up to Robbins, 10.5 years on the dot. And then PCS Keesler. I was actually on a deployment in '09, my second deployment in '09, when I got the notification that I got orders to Keesler. I was like, what? And then I was at Keesler for 5 years and 8 months, and then I retired. And I was like, okay, well, that's that.
Right. Right.
But
Okay.
nothing's going to stop me from moving however I want to move now as a civilian, right?
Mm.
So, and when you were getting ready to get out, what what kind of work were you looking for?
Actually, I wasn't. Um,
Yeah.
I originally got out and I had set my finances up to where and this is what my wife thought was crazy, but I had the last 5 years of my time in the Air Force, I decided to pay my mortgage off, pay my house off. So I invested all my money toward that.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and taking the TDYs, taking what I could get and putting that all and paying that off. And I was able to do that. And
Wow.
so when I got out, between the disability and retirement, I didn't feel like working. So I took 2 years off. It was actually 2 years before I applied for a job at the base.
What made you want to go back to work?
Well, as time went on, my kids got older, and things like dental and all that stuff started creeping in. I was like, "Whoa, yeah, guess I got to go back to work." So, yeah, that was it. That was it. And then, I had been out for a minute, and I felt like, I was refreshed, and I was ready to give it another go and
Yeah.
punch in and not punching out somebody's clock. So,
Yeah.
decided to.
What were you doing in the time that you were not working? How did you keep your mind fresh?
Well,
And
I volunteered a lot. I, was a youth coach on base and, flag football at my local church. I did flag football. No, excuse me, at a church in the local area, I did flag football. My church, word season, they didn't have a football youth program. So I
Mhm.
did that. Did a little bit of, was trying to learn how to do a little HVAC and working with somebody in the business doing that. And pretty much just living life, just
Yeah.
enjoying life. So trying to spend time with the family
Yeah.
and be a good husband and father. So yeah, yeah, going to
So what
games and all that stuff.
so what kind of work did you get at the base?
I was a equipment specialist, basically, working with sustainment issues for it was the Black Hawk UH-60 program they had on base, and
Mhm.
worked for Miss Evelyn Ryberg, good lady. So worked with her I was a government contractor. I wasn't on civil service or anything.
Yeah.
I was just contracting and loved it. Great pay, great benefits. The hours weren't that bad, and then I was back in my element with people that I used to work with, and
Oh, nice.
because remember when I was in the Air Force, I was at one point I worked in QA, and then I worked
Mhm.
as the wing FOD monitor, and so I saw just about everybody who was in aircraft maintenance on a routine basis. So I
Yeah.
enjoyed that. So got a little bit back to that networking and being
Yeah.
around good people.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how long were you there?
I was there for 2.5 years
Yeah.
and enjoyed it. But my wife had gotten her doctorate in public health, and she just wasn't finding the kind of work she wanted to do in the local area. So we made a decision to move to Texas. So we moved to live, and we actually live we moved to Dallas Fort Worth side, and so she could pursue her interest in her career.
Yeah.
So
And so, what were you doing up there?
Originally she moved first, and I moved like a year later. I actually stayed in my job for a year, and she moved, and we had two separate households. And
That's crazy.
she was staying with her mother and father, and I was. She had a couple of kids. I had a couple of kids. So, yeah. So we made it work, and I moved there after about two years. I couldn't take it anymore. Missed her and the kids.
Oh yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, it was tough a little bit, but we made it work. I flew a lot out there. I flew all the time.
Oh yeah.
So we made that, and then when I got there, I started working for a company that they refurbished Learjet engines. So that got me back to my core, being a jet engine mechanic and getting back into
smelling
that.
like diesel exhaust.
Smelling like diesel, and then I did that for about a year, and I realized that, man, I'm kind of old, and this is my back hurting and my hands and everything. And so they had a position come open to be a detail parts inspector, where basically they clean the parts and you inspect it, and you make sure the integrity of the parts are good, and you sign off on it, say they're good. And they had people that did that, and that's all they did all day was look at parts. And I was like, oh, I can do that. So did that for about another year, and that got old. And so, yeah, that got old looking at parts.
I'm
that got old pretty quick after a year. And I was fortunate enough to my father-in-law, he did a career as Air Force Junior ROTC instructor. Now, when we were back at Robbins, you know how they always had these taskers you could volunteer to do and everything. And so they would have taskers come up to go and be a judge at the ROTC drill meets.
Oh, I did that too. It was at the fairgrounds, right?
Yeah. Well, this one was at HOCO. This was at Houston County High School that I went to in their gym. And so I went and I did, I was a judge, and it was cool and I liked it. And I remember instructors like, hey man, this would be decent for you. You should consider doing this after you get out. And I remember thinking about it originally when I got out of the military, but I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. So years later, I was working there, and I decided to, give it a go. I was like, you know what? I'm not getting any younger. If I'm going to give this a try, this is the time to do it. And I thought about, my time at Robbins when I worked in the maintenance training flight as an instructor, and then ran the instructor element. And I was like, you know what? I want to give this a try. And so it brought out a lot of, things that I like to talk to people, and I enjoy, learning about people and helping people and supporting people. So it seemed like a good fit. So I resigned from that position and took a job as a instructor. The only problem was there were no jobs available in the DFW area. So I had to take a job outside of the area, and the closest to the area was in Hope, Arkansas. So I went to Hope High School, worked there with Mr. Hoagland and Mr. Patton and the whole staff there. Loved it. And I worked with my senior aerospace science instructor was Colonel Mark Hart. And we worked together as a team, and for 3 great years. It was really awesome.
Wow.
3 years.
That's awesome.
And he was a commuter as well. So I had an apartment in Texarkana where I was there during the week, and on the weekends I was driving back to Dallas Fort Worth to spend time with the family. And so did that for 3 years. Put a lot of miles on cars, and so
was it a Beamer? I know you had a Beamer.
Oh, the Beamer was way gone by then, man. Oh gosh, don't get me started about that car. Oh gosh. But yeah, so put a lot of hours on the road and going back, because I would get off work, like we'd have high school games, football games at home, and the game would be over like 11, and I would get on the road after working all
Whoa.
day, and I would get on the road and drive the 3 hours just so I could be home Saturday morning, spend time with my kids. So
Whoa,
did
that's
that for
brutal.
3 years, and it got old. It did.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Unfortunately, it got old. So, and my coworker, Colonel Hart, he decided he was from Monroe, Louisiana, and he was
Okay,
doing
yeah.
the same thing, but he had a camper, and he lived in
Oh
the
yeah.
camper for like 3 years, having all kind of issues, parts breaking, all kind of issues in his camper. And he just decided, I can't do this no
Yeah.
more. A position came up for him at Monroe High School, I believe that's the name of it.
Yeah.
They were looking for a new senior aerospace science instructor. He took the job, and no hard feelings. I actually was happy for him.
Yeah.
And but you know, I was like, at the time, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this by myself. So
Right.
there was a position that came open in Texarkana at Texarkana Senior High School, and they were looking for another instructor to go with the instructor there. And so I decided to take that position. So my last 2 years, I was there. Unfortunately, my peer, he decided to leave after the first year I was there. So the last year I was there by myself, running the program. So yeah, so it was quite the year. So but you know, I just leaned on the things that I learned and experiences that I had in the Air Force, and just gave the kids what I could. So we had a great year. We had a great year.
So what was your favorite part about the whole junior ROTC thing?
Wow, there was a lot of things I liked. I enjoyed you know, life skills. We taught to kids about conflict resolution. We talked to them about how to being respectful with each other, and not just saying that, hey, these are giving them real life examples of you know, how you should treat people, and trying to engage them in what are their thoughts and their opinions on things, on different subjects. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed, you know, just the day-to-day being around the kids and learning much more about them and getting to know them and building relationships. Like, you know, to this day, I still have kids that from 4 years ago that still, you know, contact me and tell me what's going on in their lives. I've had a few that got married, got babies, become wives. I got a few young men that have, you know, been moving up the chain, so to speak, in their professions. So I just enjoy seeing that, and praising them and encouraging them to keep going.
That's awesome. Yeah. How many of them joined the Air Force?
None. None. I have not had. Now there have been some kids at Texarkana High School. They weren't so in a way they weren't my kids, but they were there when I was there. They joined the Air Force. But as far as my kids, like from Hope, no, I didn't have one, not one. And it's interesting is my corps commander one year, she went into the Army ROTC program up in Arkansas Tech, I believe it was. But she didn't. She called me and she said, "Hey, I don't think this is gonna work for me." And I guess she was trying to gauge whether I was gonna be upset with her. And I was like, "Of course not. I just want to do what's best for you." So just, you know, you're a great person. You're still making great grades. You still have goals outside of that. So just move on. It's all right. I just want you to be successful in whatever you do.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's interesting to me because like you have all these Air Force Junior ROTC or whatever, you know, all the different high schools. But thinking back on my career, I can't remember more than like a handful of people who were like, oh yeah, I was in Junior ROTC in high school, who joined. So that was like, it was a small sample size, but I was just curious if like, you know, you had people who
just unfortunately hasn't worked out. But it's fun because I've had, you know, kids that, you know, like I said, that I've got some that are working on have finished up their associate's degree, bachelor's degree, you know, some of that went into vocational things. So I'm just happy with that. They're, you know, they're doing well and they're progressing in a positive way. So it's okay.
That's cool. Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean,
heck, I can't even get my own kids to join the military. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know. I remember talking about it when my kids were little, and my wife was like, "I did not want my kids to join the military," and I was like, "Yeah, it's an option," but she's like, "It's not." It's like her dad was in the army, her brother was in the army, and she married Air Force twice. So but then it's like, oh, I don't
A
want to
lot
have
good
to
there.
don't want to have to worry about my kids, being deployed and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So yeah, I get it, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's more out there, but I don't know. I Have you seen any of the things like where they're talking about having a hard time recruiting? I mean, they're like having such a hard time recruiting that they ask for retirees to come
Listen,
back, and I was
I
like, I
I
can't
work
hear
in.
you through my DD-214.
Oh, you're talking about okay. I thought you were talking about young people enlistment numbers for them. You're
Oh
talking
well,
about they
yeah.
were trying to bring the old heads back.
Well, both
No,
actually.
no.
Yeah. No, both
That
actually. Like they're having a hard time recruiting, and then they're also having a hard time retaining. And
right.
so then they try to bring in like broken people. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Especially when when there's no real you don't get more time towards your grade or towards your retirement or anything. I don't see the point of why somebody would want to do that unless they really just want to put the uniform on and do
Right.
that.
Right. I would be
God
like,
bless them.
I would need like a whole new uniform, really, in like a very much larger size. And I'm okay not doing that. I served and I had a good time, and I served my
Yes,
country, and I'm too old for that stuff.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think about like deployments and stuff, and like I don't want to stay in a room with three other dudes. Come on.
But diplomas were actually we had fun though. We
No,
worked
that's
hard,
true.
but we
That's
did have
true.
some fun.
Yes. And one thing about that is like I remember I'd be like, this is not the way to do it, guys. If you're in the military now and you're like,
The disclaimer.
yeah, I was like not in great shape because just like staying out late and eating whatever and not working out. And then I go to the desert and I come back ripped
Yeah.
because like all we did was like eat, sleep, work out, you know, hang out, go to church,
Right.
whatever. And it was
I
like,
I think the main thing about getting in shape there was the water. You drunk so much water. I mean,
I was just talking about this yesterday too. Yeah, the water that was sitting out on the pallets in the
yeah,
hot sun, drinking
yeah.
that Rayan and Gulfa. Oh yeah.
I mean, how many millions of dollars were they spending on that water just alone?
It's, it tastes like plastic. We're
Yeah,
drinking microplastics.
remember they had the little snack bar place you could go and get as much candy and everything. Still
Yes.
wasn't gaining weight.
No, yeah. I mean, I ate peanut M&Ms like every other day, and was eating like snack cakes and stuff like that. But we had to walk everywhere, and then it
Yep.
was so hot, and you're sweating all the time. And then we go work out or whatever. I swim, play racquetball,
You weren't.
lift weights.
You didn't get to. Were you a van driver?
No,
No. Okay. Okay. I was
they
trying to think.
trust
There
me with
was
that.
somebody.
No, no, that's like for people like Michael Scott, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
he's that guy. He was that guy.
yeah, but yeah. Now you know what? I Back on the LUD thing. I was trying to remember the name of that stupid game. It was zombies, man. We killed zombies for like 6 hours.
I'm
Like
sorry,
6 hours.
man. It's, I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
remember playing Madden. I remember playing
yeah,
some
yeah.
Madden, but I don't
I was
remember
gonna
the
say, do you
zombie
not
thing.
remember the whole setup? There was like ping pong tables in there
Yeah, I
and
remember
like
that. I
computer
remember the
games and
remember we had all those those packages that people sent. Remember with they had the shaving kits, candy, and
yeah,
it was like a almost a wall or like a room full of that stuff. And we
yes,
would go
yes.
through it.
Yes, I remember somebody sent a pallet of Jack Link's beef jerky. I will never
Yes.
again eat Jack Link's in my life. And then like Pop Tarts, I eat Pop Tarts every day. I
Mhm.
haven't eaten a Pop Tart, I think, since I retired. And then because we're always drinking the plastic tasting water. They have the Propel little packs,
Yeah.
and you throw that in there, and so then it's like mixed Propel mixed berry. We had that all the time. It's just crazy stuff. So anyway, what are you involved in right now? I know you said you're between jobs. You
Yeah.
recently moved again.
I recently did. I left Texarkana, Texas, and we moved to Greensboro, North Carolina. Changed. Weather's a lot more milder here, and love the town. It's a kind of it's a sleepy college town, and we kind of enjoy that. My
What
wife.
school is there?
What school? Oh, University of North Carolina, Greensboro, Chapel Hill, Duke are about 45 minutes away.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Winston-Salem, Wake Forest is nearby.
Yeah.
So it's
NC State's in Raleigh.
Right. NC State's in Raleigh. So it's a big, nice area for collegiate stuff. And my kids, that's part of the goal. We want them to go to school here. Hopefully stay around locally so we can keep an eye on them.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you want to see what they're doing in college. That would be like, oh,
we want to be able to come home every now and then.
Yeah. Keep an eye on them. The way you put that, I'm like, I don't know if you want to do that. Might be upsetting, but anyway.
So I'm between jobs, but I got a tentative offer to work for a government contractor on F-16 avionics program. So
okay,
waiting to hear back.
Avionics,
equipment specialist. Yeah, so
you got to put the hat on, man. Join the club. Join the club.
I'll definitely hitting you up here in the future about that.
Man, I don't remember nothing about it.
Waiting on that offer to be dropped to me, and hopefully in about another month. And so get started, get to work. The great thing about the position is it's a remote position. So me and my wife will both be working remotely, and so I'll be able to continue doing what I'm doing now. Getting up in the morning, taking my kids to school every day, taking my wife. We go to walking 1.5 miles every day. So just being around them is such a blessing. So if I can get a position that still allows me to do that, that's great. That's what I wanted to do. So
yeah. One of the things about remote work, I've been a remote worker since 2020. So about years. So I was hybrid for about a year before the pandemic hit. I was at work, and my boss was like, "Hey, you guys go home. Don't come back until we tell you." And so of my team, there were 10 people on the team. There were only 3 of us in on that Friday. So we're like, all right, well, we're going to go to lunch. And he's like, yeah, and just don't come back till we tell you. I never saw those guys again. We went and we got some fun. And then one guy left to another company. Right. And then I just never saw the other dude again. And then I left, a year later. So, but one thing about remote work that I really, really love is the flexibility.
Yeah.
Where you, so 2 years ago now, was it 2 years ago? I think it was 3. Oh, I'm trying to think. 3 years ago. So, we had just moved in this house, and then 6 months later, we're like, hey, we're going to go to Michigan. We're going to go visit. And my sister was living in Marquette, which is the UP, the very top, shores of Lake Superior.
Okay.
And from my house to her house, 1,300 miles. And so we're we're going to take a road trip. And so on this whole experience, it was 27 days. We were gone 27 days, and I took 4 days of PTO. And so we drove up to Nashville, hung out with, the rest of my family over there, and went to a wedding. And then we drove up to the Grand Rapids area because my son lives there, hung out with him for a while, went and took a couple days to go to some other little town. And then we went up to Marquette. We were there for a week, and then we just come back same way. And so in that 27 days, I worked in coffee shops in Mississippi, Louisiana, Tennessee, Indiana, and Michigan.
Nice.
And it was and there was no, people knew I was traveling, but I was on at normal hours and stuff,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Oh yeah, what are you doing today? How's all this stuff?" And like working vacation is very different because it's like I'm working, and then all right, time to log off, close the laptop, and then go do something that I've never done before, or
Yeah.
like go see something I've never seen before. And that was the fun thing about like remote work. But I think for me, one of the drawbacks is being an extrovert and not seeing people face to face all the
Mhm.
time. It's a little bit got to be involved in other things because
Right.
then I can be like really kind of like a hermit, and then that's not like good mentally or whatever. But
Mhm.
you're like surrounded with kids and stuff, so that
Yeah.
shouldn't happen to you.
Well, from my experiences as them being an equipment specialist before, I'm I'm interested to see how they work this program because
Mhm.
when we had a lot of face-to-face meetings we had all the time, and how that works over the computer. I'm interested to see how that works when there's so many different key players that are involved in these programs, and how do you because is it going to be like multi-screen where you can see everybody's face, or are you going to be trying
Yeah,
to pick up their voice? I don't know. So
it'll
it's
be
going to be
interesting.
interesting to deal
Yeah.
with that. But
Yeah. All right. Well, cool, man. It was cool having you on the show.
thank you, thank
Um,
you.
Bringing up all these memories, except for the name of that zombie game that we beat.
Was it Call of Duty? Was it?
No, it wasn't. It was a zombie game. Man, Call of Duty is like people, but it Fall of Mankind, something,
I have no
something
idea what
like
you're
that.
talking.
Oh man, I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna show you that.
All right,
I'm gonna
please
send you the
do.
link.
Please do.
But I just have like one more question.
Sure.
Is there something that you're involved in that's like unique, something that you're passionate about? Doesn't have to be work related. It can totally be anything. What is it?
Um, I'm pretty passionate about just being present and being present and aware and around my kids, focusing on them, trying to nurture them, and trying to be just enjoying my time because I realized that my three youngest children are all going to be in high school next year, and so
Oh,
yeah, so my Langston, he'll be a senior next year. My two twins, they'll be freshmen. So this is precious time for me. So I want to enjoy and maximize this time with them because in 4 years they'll be all out in this world, fly,
wow.
fly, fly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, that's good. Yeah, valuable lesson.
Yes.
One thing that I wish that I could have back is some time with my kids when they're little.
Yeah.
Is now
Mhm.
Grace is our youngest. She is 25, and it's like,
Wow.
oh
You got a
yeah,
25-year-old?
yeah,
Look at you,
yeah. She's
man.
old, man. I don't know.
I do have something. I have another passion.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to start playing pickleball.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what I'm working
You're
on.
definitely retired. I see the white hair.
so,
It's like I'm gonna go play pickleball.
so my sister-in-law and her boyfriend, they talked to me about it, and so we went up to DC about a week ago, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna play some pickleball," and I was like, "Okay," and never played it before or anything. Man, I whooped their butts. So
You got
I
that
am
reach.
hooked.
You got the reach though. You
Yeah,
like
yeah, that's what I
you?
do. So I'm
Mhm.
hooked. So I'm going to. I think the YMCA here has a club or something coming up here
Fun.
next spring. So I'm definitely joining that. That's gonna be my new
Cool.
thing.
Yeah, people swear by it, man. It's like one of the fastest growing sports in
It
America.
is. It is. I love
Pretty
it. Love
crazy.
it. So
All
definitely
right.
gonna continue doing that.
Got to be careful, with the hips, man. You're getting old. Oh. But anyway, it's been a pleasure, man, having you on here,
You as
talking
well.
about your
Thank you.
journey.
Thank you for having me on. And
Yeah, man.
if I could say one thing, I would say to
Do
people,
it.
just enjoy, especially when you retire, you've done you served your country, find your passion and go out and do it, enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with change. I've moved 3 times since I retired from the military. I've got my kids some PCSs. in since then. So just enjoy life, and changes. There's nothing wrong with change. You got, we've been kind of trained how to be flexible and deal with circumstances. So just, use that skill set you have, and enjoy life. Enjoy every day.
Nice. Good.
Yes.
Good deal. All right, everybody. We're gonna end the show, but I'm gonna see you guys next week. Hopefully, you tune in. We have, you know what? I forgot to fail. I forgot to see who's on next week. Karina Dove. Okay, well, we're definitely gonna have somebody on next week. No break for us next week. But yeah, hope to see you guys there. Peace.
Peace.